to Murder One Entertainment. I'm your host, Brandon, like always. I'm the only one here. Awkward. So it's another episode of Talking Shit. I think it's episode number 4. Last episode we talked about Black Label Society, their impact on me. And I think this episode, naturally, we should move into Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy and Black Sabbath. I'm going to lump both of them in to one episode. So, I knew of Ozzy as a person before I knew he made music. My first time ever seeing Ozzy was in, Austin Powers 3, Goldmember, where they're sitting on the couch and Sharon's like, "Boobs, Ozzy," and he's just going off about boobs, boobs, Ozzy, that scene. And I just remember that as a kid, wondering who this long-haired, mumbly dude was with the round sunglasses and Austin Powers. So, as I get a little bit older, I think I was around maybe 6 or 7, around that time. Yeah, my parents showed me Austin Powers when I was younger. Good parents. They're great parents. Anyway, besides the point. And then I think the first Black Sabbath... Alright, so I remember vaguely getting into my dad's truck one day, and he puts on Black Sabbath. He's like, "This is, remember the guy from Austin Powers, Ozzy Osbourne?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know what you're talking about." "Well, this is his band." I'm like, "He's in a band?" He's like, "Yeah." But he said, "This has a different singer, though." I think he got one of the Dio albums. I'm not sure which one it was. I don't remember the song. Like I said, I vaguely remember. It might have been Mob Rules. I'm not sure. It's either Mob Rules or Heaven and Hell. One of the two. But I remember him saying, "I don't like this. This isn't real Black Sabbath." Nowadays, my opinions are different. I believe that I'm not really familiar with the Blacks, like a couple albums where they had another dude other than Ozzy or Dio. But the way I put it is, the way I explain to people is, I think there's 2 eras of Black Sabbath. There's 3 eras, but 2 eras. The Ozzy era, the Dio era. It's like 2 different bands. And I think they're both great in their own right. But, so, I heard that, it was like a couple seconds, and my dad fucking, threw out the CD. So, I think maybe a couple years go by, and my dad used to get music off of, I think Walmart used to sell music on their website, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, I'm losing. I forgot to say something prior to that. So, in between that time, I think School of Rock came out, with Jack Black, and the scene where he's teaching the kid to play rock riffs. He plays AC/DC, which I really should have done an episode on. That should have been episode 2, AC/DC. Because before Metallica, I used to love AC/DC. I totally forgot about that. Maybe I'll do that next time. Regardless, he teaches him Highway to Hell, but then he teaches him Iron Man. And I love that riff. There I go with riffs, right? And so back to what I was saying about him getting music off of the Walmart website back then. He started playing. First, I remember him playing the song Black Sabbath, the storm and everything in the beginning. I vaguely remember that. And then he plays Iron Man. And I'm like, "Hey, this is the song from School of Rock." He's like, yeah, this is Ozzy's band, Black Sabbath. And then I heard Ozzy's voice for the first time when he first started singing. And I'm like, whoa, this dude sounds different. Because Ozzy has a very unique voice. And his voice used to creep me out when I was little. There's just something about his voice, especially in the early Sabbath records. It's really eerie. And I remember liking it, but not liking it. I didn't like it, but I had to keep listening to it, if you know what I mean. I kept coming back to it. So he put that song on my little MP3 player. It was one of those little MP3 players that had a USB drive on it. It held maybe 50 or 60 songs or something like that. But I had that on there, and they downloaded Crazy Train. Never heard Crazy Train in my life at that point. I remember hearing Crazy Train for the first time, and my mind was blown. And I couldn't comprehend. I'm like, this is Ozzy, but this isn't. But it doesn't sound like Black Sabbath. And my dad had to explain to me that this was after Ozzy left Black Sabbath. I'm like, oh, okay. And then at that time, that was right before I got into Metallica. Fully into Metallica. So I would listen to, I think he put Ozzy on there, he put AC/DC on there. There were some Van Halen songs on there, like Hot for Teacher and Jump and Panama. But I didn't know who they were. I just listened to them because they were rock and roll. But yeah. So, as I began my obsession with Metallica, I kind of leaned away from Ozzy. Me being the naive child I was, not knowing much about metal, the subgenres, the history, I didn't like Ozzy because he wasn't metal. He wasn't Metallica. There wouldn't be Metallica without Ozzy, and I didn't know that. And my dad would always say to me, Brandon, if it wasn't for these older bands, you wouldn't have Metallica. We would listen to Led Zeppelin. I'm like, oh, this isn't heavy enough. He's like, Brandon, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have Metallica. You wouldn't have those bands. You wouldn't have Black Label Society. And at the time, I didn't understand. And as I got older, listening to Metallica and going through that journey, I kind of rediscovered Black Sabbath. I knew who they were, but I rediscovered them because I started looking into them more. I started watching videos on, metal history and metal subgenres and people talking about how influential they were and how Tony Iommi's sound was so unique for the time. Especially 60, 68 was when they formed, and the first album came out in 70. The Beatles were at their height. It's like fucking night and day. I was just me and my girlfriend were watching Disney Plus put out that Beatles thing. And I'm not a big fan of the Beatles. I thought it'd be cool to look at it musically, but it didn't really do anything for me. But after that, I wanted to show the contrast. So I put on Black Sabbath live in Paris, my favorite Black Sabbath concert, as it is probably for many other people, because it's one of the greatest recordings ever. And I'm like, she isn't into music like I am. She likes music, but she doesn't get into it like I do, collect all the albums, research the band, all that shit. So, and I'm explaining to her, I'm like, at the time, no one sounded like Black Sabbath. You had bands like Led Zeppelin were one of the heavier bands. Deep Purple later on. Fucking Motorhead later on. Hell, even Judas Priest, early Judas Priest. Thin Lizzy. You had all these bands in the 70s that were doing heavier, harder stuff, but it wasn't to the extent like Black Sabbath. because Tony Iommi down-tuned his guitar and did all that shit. Because he cut it, tips his fingers off, gave him that sound and the light gauge strings. It all just fucking, like, everything happened. The planets aligned, and I believe their first song they wrote was Wicked World, and then they wrote Black Sabbath. And they didn't know what they had at the time, but now that I'm older and I realize, what they did for the music that I love, I kind of feel bad of how naive I was at that time. I think it's okay because I was young and naive. I didn't know no better. But, I'm trying to, I have a daughter. She's going to be 1 year old. She likes to listen to music. She doesn't know what she's listening to, but she likes it. She dances. And I'm not going to try and make her listen to metal. She can listen to whatever she wants because her mother's very versatile that way too. But I want to show her this style of music so she grows up appreciating music more than I did, understanding music. Because if she's anything like me, she's going to love music. Being moved by music to the point of tears. That happens to me. Being moved by music to the point where I start crying because it moves through you. It's the music speaking to you. You can feel the emotion, even without any lyrics, like instrumentals. It speaks to you, and that's what Black Sabbath is to me. A lot of the time. Almost all their songs are filled with emotion and feeling. Like, I believe it's the riff. Was it? I think it's the ending riff in Iron Man. Just that has so much feeling. I remember sitting, like, laying in my bed and just closing my eyes and just getting into it, and then, like, being into music. It's just, it would just do things to me. It still does. I listen to Black Sabbath on a regular basis. I listen to more Black Sabbath than I do Ozzy, like as a solo stuff, but I listen to it a lot. If I want to start, I think I'm going to start talking about Ozzy's solo stuff now. So I heard Crazy Train. I remember hearing. Okay, I'm going to do a little segue because I'm not going to do I guess I'll do an episode one. Something that has really been influential in my taste of music, believe it or not, was Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Because that station in the game, V-Rock, had all this great... That game had so much great music. And I remember hearing Bark at the Moon. That too, so I got that downloaded. I'll get into more of what Grand Theft Auto did with that music in another episode. Bark at the Moon. And then I learned who Randy Rhoads was. And all that. And then discovering that Zach played with Ozzy, throughout the late 80s and early 90s and into the 2000s. I didn't know that for the longest time until I discovered the No More Tears album. I had no clue. I'm like, holy shit, this is Zach. And then watching the movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg, Zach Wilde and Nick Cantonese are in that movie, and I had no idea at first. So I didn't know. And then that just made my love for Zach, even more. Listening to all the Zach albums and hearing his difference in guitar tone he had back then opposed to now. You know, my phone's at 32%, trying to charge it, but I can't because I got to drive. But yeah, that just elevated, you know, what Ozzy meant to me too. You know, because Ozzy's voice changed too over the years. You know, nowadays with his solo album, Ordinary Man, it's okay. You can tell that wasn't him writing it. You know, it's just people writing it for him. He's like, oh yeah, okay, that's good. I don't know who the new guitarist is, but it just doesn't do anything for me. Jesus Christ, I got flying. Oh my God. Under the Graveyard was a good song. Ordinary Man's a good song. But I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was Ozzy who wrote the songs. Because they even did that on Scream. They had people write the songs for them. You know, I think they did it on Black Rain as well. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think I heard apparently that Ozzy's coming out with another album, and Zach's going to be on it. I think Zach's going to be on it, and that's going to be cool. But yeah, so Ozzy and Black Sabbath, I mean, have been a big part of my musical journey. And I could say, you know, I'll go into Dio more because it's Black Sabbath. I just recently started listening to the Dio stuff. Like, very recently, like as recent as 2018. You know, listening to Sirius XM, you know, Ozzy's Boneyard, and Liquid Metal. I think it was on Ozzy's Boneyard. They would always play Sign of the Southern Cross. I love that song. And I'm like, you know what? This shit's actually really good. So I went and I wanted to listen to all the Dio albums. So I listened to all of let me fucking draw a blank. Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. Mob Rules is my favorite Dio album. And Unedited, Dehumanizer, you know, those albums, and they're awesome. But I didn't get into them until like recently, and I wish I did before. But yeah, I think I touched on everything I wanted to talk about. So yeah, that is the episode about Ozzy and Black Sabbath and what they meant to me in my musical journey. If you liked the video, hit the like button, because that's what you do when you like a video. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more. And I guess I'll talk to you all later. Thank you for watching.